Yo, what's up? He's Greg. I'm your boy Robert. This is the All Out of Fucks podcast. Welcome back. We're back at episode 31. We talking about these crazy ass folks that stormed the Capitol. We're gonna talk to y'all about that a little bit, jump into it. But shit, what's been good with you, man? What's going on?
Man, I've been sitting here having the best week ever, and then the worst week ever, and then the best week ever, and then the fucking worst week ever, all at the same damn time. I won't get into my damn Steelers. It is what the fuck it is.
Oh shit! You know what? I hadn't even thought about that, but you may not get into that shit. I mean, we lost too, so I can't say too much shit. But we
but
lost. I mean, if you can lose respectfully,
I,
we lost somewhat respectfully.
yeah, but I mean, think about it. This could be Ben's last game, right?
It
And,
probably should be his last game.
right, and he throws what five for? He throws for 500, and
Yeah, but
they
those
they
yards in the second half was inflated because Cleveland is basically in a prevent the whole time, like
well,
fucking
yeah, they was basically
dick and dunk.
they I didn't think they even blitzed him the whole damn third quarter.
Uh-huh.
So, but I'm just saying, like he has 500 some odd yards. They lose the way they lose, and this is probably the end of an era in Pittsburgh. And we're looking at rebuilding for the next I don't know 4 or 5 years because
Right.
you got to get a quarterback.
No
So
doubt.
so that's what I'm saying. Like it's the worst fucking time for me right now because I know this shit's over. But
Well, shit, before we jump into it, let's take care of some business as always. Hey, thanks for subscribing to us. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you're checking us out on your favorite platform, whether that's Apple Podcasts on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, whatever your favorite platform is. We there. We in the building for that particular area. So, hey, look, as always, we'd appreciate if y'all would subscribe or leave a comment, drop something in our inbox, whatever it takes. We're listening to y'all and hopefully, we're giving you some content you guys can enjoy. But as Greg said, as he was talking about, his Steelers took a massive L this weekend, jump into our blown smoke session. I did want to kind of jump in the NFL playoffs for a second before we jump into this crazy ass capital shit. But yeah, so my Colts took a loss. Yeah, old man Rivers need to go. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like he didn't do terrible, but he just doesn't have enough to get us over the hump. Like he's not dynamic enough in the second
right,
half to make plays. Like he's good on script, but he can't make some shit happen. Truth be told, if they would do it in division, Deshaun Watson's available, but I know they never gonna trade him in division to the Colts. That would be
no,
pretty
that'd be
stupid.
stupid. That'd be stupid.
Unless the price is right. I mean, if the price is right, fuck it. You make your business decision and you kind of live with it. But we're a quarterback away from dominating this league. So
Well, and that's the thing. I was looking at it this whole weekend. If you really think about it, the whole weekend is full of a bunch of old quarterbacks.
oh yeah, this
I
is like
mean,
it's like the golden age. Like you got Tom Brady and Drew about to play this weekend. So
and then you got Aaron playing, and
yeah.
technically he younger than a couple of them, but it just he fits the build. He's in that bracket. So
So basically, all the old heads are over in the NFC, and the young cats is over here in the AFC getting it in. So you got
yep,
Mahomes versus Baker, then you got Lamar versus Josh Allen, right? Is
right,
that right?
yep,
Yeah. So yeah, it's about to go down. That's crazy. So it's youth movement over in the AFC.
right.
The old cats over here trying to get it in the NFC. So we're gonna see what happens.
I was about to say they got to slice each other's throats. So
Well, shit, I'm gonna keep it real with you. Like I bet against the Steelers. I put some money on Cleveland, and thank goodness I got paid. Like
say,
that, it was a money line. I think money line was a plus 250.
well, I told you like 3 weeks ago, I didn't expect them to do
You
shit.
expected them to beat Cleveland. You did.
No, I didn't expect them to beat Cleveland after they lost. I know the last game really don't count because they really ain't start nobody, but I didn't expect them to beat Cleveland after they lost because I'm like, okay, they doing that bullshit again. They doing that bullshit again. I really didn't expect them to beat Cleveland. I was
Yeah,
hoping they beat Cleveland.
yeah. But for a crazy ass positive second half against my squad, they were terrible. And to be honest with you,
That's what I'm saying. They was
They
doing that bullshit.
probably should have lost that game because there was like two questionable pass interference calls when y'all played us
Mm-hmm.
that shouldn't have been called on our folks. And then there's a pass interference call at the end of the game that they missed on T.Y. Hilton that they didn't call. So like
Right.
candidly, they probably was, a few calls away from basically losing 6 or 7 down the stretch.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They've been on that bullshit. So
And
I was hoping that they would win, but I didn't expect.
part of that shit is because they had all that shit early with the COVID and them having an early bye week. I don't think if they hadn't had a bye week for like it'd have been a minute. So I think they was just fucking drained, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I don't know what the Colts are going to do as far as this quarterback situation. They're probably going to run it back with old man Rivers because that's the coldest thing to do. They would do that shit, and rather than, I don't know what the options are. I mean, it doesn't look like Darnold's going to be available. Watson looks like he may get traded to Miami for Tua, which I can't blame Houston for that. And then Stafford might be available,
But
but
again, he's old now, in theory.
he's not as old as Rivers. Shit.
No. He's not as old man Rivers, but I'm just saying
So,
he's part of the old
um,
guard.
and it looks like Wentz might stay put since they fired Peterson
Yeah.
over there in Philly. So, and I'm not sure I want to. I mean, Wentz seems mentally fragile as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
He's just way too sensitive to be a quarterback in the NFL. Definitely too sensitive to be a quarterback in Philly. But they don't like that soft that shit. They was like, who the fuck is this?
Right. They actually asked for Nick Foles back.
But so shout out to all the OSU fans that are listening. Sorry.
Not sorry. I'm sorry. That actually made me feel better. Thank you, OSU fans. y'all pulled it out for me. That you've actually lifted my spirits today.
But because I had looked at the lines for that game, trying to figure out if I was going to put money on the Buckeyes. Because I'm like, okay, well, I usually only bet if I feel like there's a chance that the underdog's going to win, and I can make some money off that money line.
Mm-hmm.
But then all the shit that was going on with COVID, I was like, nah, I'm good. Like these cats is about to get blown out, and I could tell just based off of that shit. Like it didn't even feel right, and sure enough, they was done. Matter of fact, my wife, who's supposedly an OSU fan, she was asleep by the third quarter. I mean, I think she wasn't even watching the game most of the time, like
So,
because it was so out of hand.
well, and that's what happens every time. See, here's the thing: you got the one national championship, but everybody has revisionist history on it. But truthfully, that's what
What
happens
they
every
talking about
fucking time.
that pass interference national championship with Maurice Claret?
Yeah,
Yeah, the
you see
one
what
in
I'm?
Miami. Yeah,
Yeah,
one against Miami. Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? Like,
they swear up and down that there wasn't no pass interference though.
but that's what I'm saying. You got this title, and you sit there and you think every year they are bad enough and big enough to win the national title. I'm like, the SEC didn't stop playing fucking football.
Well, what I will say is this. I mean, but for all that shit was going on with the COVID and shit like that, they may have had a shot. I mean, Ohio State does have the talent to compete against SEC teams. They have SEC talent, but I mean, this squad just wasn't. I mean, they starting running back went down the first play of the game, basically.
Which
I
was an
think,
actual hurdle.
yeah, because I mean,
That was a
he
hurdle.
he allows them to control the football game and keep the ball control. So
Well, yeah, it also keeps them. It keeps the defense honest. It
right.
allows them to keep the defense honest. So
And then they had a couple of defensive players out for the COVID shit. So it's hard to tell how that shit kind of plays. And it's not like old school where you had like a month to prepare for a squad and
right.
then get after it, which I appreciate. I actually prefer it that way. I mean, you give somebody like Nick Saban a month to prepare for somebody, he's gonna scheme just like Bill Belichick would and
Right.
shut everybody down. But I mean, it is kind of unfair. I mean, basically, he's just out here. I mean, Saban's just reloading. I mean, it's not even fair. Like they just keep replacing talent. Think about it. What's his name? Smith, the cat who won the Heisman.
Mm-hmm.
He last year he was the fourth wide receiver on the depth chart. Fourth.
That's
That's
a damn.
crazy.
That's a
Caught,
goddamn
caught
shame.
a touchdown his freshman year in the national championship. He ain't been a number one receiver till this year, and he wins the fucking Heisman as first, I think, wide receiver to win it. And then I mean, he had a crazy ass year. Like that's bananas. He was fourth on the depth chart last year.
Stocked and
And
loaded.
at fourth on the depth chart, I think he had 1,200 yards receiving as the fourth wide receiver. That's fucking crazy.
So if you're Nick Saban, what do you do at this point?
Just keep reloading and keep winning. Fuck it.
I mean,
Like
because at
at
this
this point,
point,
at this point it becomes intoxicating. Like to see how ridiculous you can make it.
you could have a old school NCAA dynasty where
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So somebody's playing NCAA football, like fuck it,
it
I'm just
made
gonna
a
win this
coach.
national championship every year. Let me see how I can win this shit.
And you keep reloading, and it gets to the point. I think I did one. I don't remember if it was 13 or 14. 14 was the last one they ever made. But I remember doing one, and I created the whole damn team, the fucking helmets, the whole 9 yards, the school. And I think my damn record in that bitch was like 107-4.
Right.
I just kept winning national titles over and over again. It got to the point where I was like, well, shit, I'll just fuck around and what's the worst? SMU? Let's try it with them too. Fuck it. I don't give a shit. And that's where Nick Saban's at. He's at that NCAA range where he's just sitting there just saying, fuck it. Okay, we're going to do it again. All right. It, who all with me? Okay,
Right.
you coming back? You staying? You staying? You going to get another job? That's cool. Have fun with that. But who else is here? Okay, yeah, we'll do it again.
Yeah, that NCAA football game used to be our shit, but I mean, ever since with the whole likeness shit, I mean, it's just fucked everything up. Well, it's not fucked everything up. The NCAA just need to pay these young cats, but they refuse to do that shit. I know that shit somewhat, it's coming around, but they should have been paid these young cats for their likeness. That don't make
Well,
no sense. Everybody's making money except these cats.
and that's from a old Ed O'Bannon lawsuit.
Right.
I mean, that
Right.
goes back 20, almost
Right.
20 some odd years. So,
Ed O'Bannon, and that remind that the UCLA used to be raw on that Coach K
yep.
video game joint. That
Yep.
was my joint. We
Yeah.
because it had Michigan on there. It was Michigan after the Fab Five though. It had like Jimmy King and Ray Jackson on that squad. That's when there was only two left over on that joint, I think.
And I think that was on the NBA Live platform engine where they
Okay.
had the players like the say like NBA Live. So
Uh,
they had Ed O'Bannon with his little headband and
right.
everything on that joint. So yeah,
Right.
but so that's how
Well,
far it go back. And they said, "Fuck it, you know what? We don't have to pay them. Matter of fact, we just don't even have to make the goddamn game. How about that?"
right. They've tried to do these they've had these cats, these programmers do these kind of knockoffs without using the actual schools or the players, but basically somebody goes in and they go player for player and they generate everybody anyway. They just use generic shit. It doesn't work though. I mean, I know some of my cats who are interested in that, but shit, just pay these cats. Fuck it. So
Right.
real quick, have you been watching these Bulls?
No, I caught a little bit of the game the other day though, the one where against the Clippers.
So they actually look pretty decent. I mean, they lost three in a row, but keep in mind they've had a bunch of players out. Markkanen's out. They lost to the Lakers by two on the road. I think they lost to the Clippers
Clippers
by
by
two on the
3.
road.
Yeah.
And I think Levine got loose on one of them games, had 45.
Levine, I think that's the Clippers game. I think he had like 10 threes.
Yeah, 10 threes. They
Yeah.
collectively had a bunch of threes too. And this young cat, Patrick Williams, he seems like he might be that deal.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might be like a Kawhi.
Yeah, everything I've seen of him so far, the 2 games that I've seen of him, I actually like what I'm looking at. He reminds me of follow me now. He reminds me before he went crazy and was like meta world peace. He kind of reminds me of a young
I
freaking
can
what you
see
call
that.
yeah,
I
you know
can
what
see
I'm
that.
saying? Like yeah. So that first year,
Yeah.
his rookie year, it's a little bit similar. So
For those of you who don't know who he's talking about, that would be Ron Artest.
mm-hmm. That's
Or
what I
is
said before.
formerly known as Ron Artest. Is he still Meta World Peace?
He's still meta world peace. He didn't go back to Ron Artest.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, but I mean, so some haters are gonna listen to this show and be like, these motherfuckers found a way to talk about the Bulls who are 3-5. But I mean, a lot of it's early in the season. The point is, I'm watching them play, and they look like it's a totally different ball team, and basically it's the same squad. They just scoring more points. Their defense need to come around, but I mean, they look like they got the dogs to at least compete offensively. So we'll see what happens. I mean, you down one of your top four players, and you still playing with the Lakers and the Clippers, on the
Yeah, you
road,
holding your
lose by
own.
2,
Yeah.
like, and he probably could have won both games. Can't be mad at that. So we'll see what happens, man. It's gonna be interesting. It tells you how terrible of a coach. What's his name was? See, that's how terrible he is. I forgot his fucking name already. Boylan.
Boiling. Yeah, I was about to say Jim Boiling.
That's how terrible he was. But
And
shit, so
this was I was wondering if this was going to actually happen with whatchamacallit. So with Donovan, I was sitting there going, okay, Donovan is still, he's starting to look old as shit, but Donovan's
right.
still young enough to sit there and have that scheme that he used to run back in Florida, and he's got a whole young ass team. I was wondering if he was going to be able to relate to these guys a little bit more. And from what I could tell, like I said, I've only seen a few games. They're moving the ball up and down the floor very, very well. They look like they have more offense than what they've had in the past 3 years.
What you mean? Like they got more than running flex or some shit?
Like
Like that's what Boylan was running. Like run flex. Like motherfucker, we've been running flex since elementary school.
exactly.
Like, I mean, and I realize a lot of shit is just a variation on it, but what the fuck ever. So we'll see what happens, man. Hopefully, I have something to root for there. I know you saw Purdue knock off Michigan State, come back and win that game last week. That shit
Yes,
was.
sir. Yes,
I
sir.
had turned the shit off. Actually, I was like, "Fucking Boilermakers, they bullshitting." And then these motherfuckers came back. I was like, "Oh shit!" I saw the score.
Here you go, Boilermaker again.
Yeah, that's some typical Boilermaker shit right there. You like these motherfuckers. Like that's the game they'll come back. They'll come back and beat like all these top 25 squads and then lose. Like
right,
lose leads against these bottom cellar dwelling squads. Like it don't make no fucking sense. Like you don't know what you're getting with this squad because they're young as fuck.
right.
So like they do shit. You be like, these are definitely kids. Because only kids are that erratic. It's college kids are definitely the ones that are that erratic. Like
Well, you could tell because you could tell what they do in the last minutes of the game, and it's always funny to me to watch a kid literally. All right, your team is up. Let's say 4. You got the clock with you, and you sprint down the fucking court. I'm like, okay, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you literally trying to score a basket right now? Work the goddamn clock. Any fucking veteran would have been like, all right, let's slow this shit down. And
but
you could just see,
then you got the flip side to it. They lackadaisical and they fuck around and get an 8 or 10 second call on their ass trying because they casually dribbling shit up the half court like, oh
mm-hmm.
my bad. Like, come on, man. Like you gotta pay attention. So
Yeah.
we'll see, man. Well, fuck it. Enough of this sports. Let's jump into this crazy ass week with this capital shit, man. So these white folks is mad.
There's something that happened at the Capitol?
Like they're really mad. It's actually been interesting to watch as a black person. Like, and I was telling black folks, just let's just sit back and watch these white folks explode and implode, because that's
Here's
what it feels like.
here's the funny thing. Across this nation, I'm a white folks, come here. Come here, come here. Get a little close. Get a little close. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Across the nation, black folks got popcorn and watch
Yeah,
and watch
that's
this
fact.
shit like a motherfucking
Hey, look at
movie.
this shit. Look at these motherfuckers. Hey, look at this shit. Look how mad they are.
Look at this shit here.
They're
we
looking at shit like they really mad. They really mad about this dumbass
uh,
shit.
I swear to God, I watched that shit like it was a motherfucking movie. And the worst part about it is every every argument that a white conservative would have about any liberal or any minority, Mexican, black, it don't freaking matter. Every argument that you would have to defend your point of being a conservative, you shot yourself in the fucking foot. Oh my God. Truthfully, all these people, all these people that sat there and stormed DC as they're getting charged right now, you're
That's
getting
yeah.
you're getting hit with some shit that wasn't even meant for you. That fucking executive order that Trump signed, that was meant for fucking black folks. And
Right.
now your ass is about to get hit with some 10-year shit.
Oh yeah, because the feds got some heat for their ass. Like I before we got on, somebody either with the Justice Department or the FBI basically said, and this is verbatim. He said FBI has a long memory and a long reach.
Oh fuck.
So just remember that shit. I was like, oh yeah, they ready.
Oh, that means
Like
they
that's
got
verbatim. That's not even me. Like that's not me embellishing shit. Like that's the statement. Because I remembered it. I was like, oh shit.
oh
Like
fuck.
a long memory and a long reach. Like so, it means they combing through all the fucking dumbass social media posts that
Oh
people
hell
was
yeah.
posting about their shit. Like shit is bananas. So like, I mean, let's just jump back to it. So So, and what were you doing when you first found out they were doing this shit? Because I knew they were going to do the count of the delegates, but I mean it was a work day, so I was working and shit. And then I think I just took a break from work and was taking a look at social media, and people was talking about some shit. I was like, wait a minute, let me turn on the news real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And saw these white folks wilding the fuck out. Like I was like, oh, they wilding out, because I expected there to be like some sort of protest, but I didn't expect these motherfuckers to storm the fucking Capitol building, or more importantly, get into the Capitol building. Like,
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing that shocked me. I didn't expect them to get in. I expected them to storm because I expect white people to be white people. Like if you don't know two shits about me, I'm gonna tell you right now. I don't expect much from white people. I done seen it all the course of my damn life. And what I do know, white people know how to throw fucking tantrums
oh yeah,
like I ain't never seen in my life. And it doesn't matter if you 33 or 73. You motherfuckers hit the flow hard throwing a goddamn fit.
over nothing, right? Like, so over some manufactured bullshit, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So over some blatant lies that are easily refuted, and
yeah.
they refuse to pay attention to logic. But this is the tricky part about it, right? So, this reminds me, and there's some comedy, but there's always some seriousness as well, right? So if you recall, if you know your history, so after the Civil War during Reconstruction, the Klan rose up trying to basically, terrorize black folks and try and return to the good old days. And so northern white folks wasn't feeling that shit. They were like, oh, this is some bullshit. So I think Grant ended up sending down some troops down to the south, and they shut that KKK shit down right away.
Mm-hmm.
So the people who were part of that shit and the KKK was basically like, it wasn't like the poor white folks that how they're trying to paint the shit today, like, oh, it's just poor white trash that are out here trying to storm the Capitol. It was like the quote unquote elite white folks, so like the lawyers and the doctors and all these other folks. Those are
Right,
the people who were part of the KKK back then. So they ended up switching it up, and they basically started campaigning in public, like, fuck it, we just about to do this shit publicly. And that shit worked because it got the northern white folks to back down. And the bottom line is, ultimately what they did back then was these white elite folks basically tried to put all this insurrection shit on the poor white folks. They're like,
mm-hmm.
these motherfuckers is wilding out. You need to put us back in power so we can restore some order to these crazy white folks.
Right. Get some law and order in here.
Right. So it's a trick though, right? Because it's basically a way for these white elites to consolidate the power. And I see some of that shit happening now, right? I mean, yeah, you got your rednecks peppered throughout this shit. I mean, there's a lot of that shit going on. They
Right,
missing teeth and rotted teeth and shit.
right.
But beyond that, there's a lot of motherfuckers. I mean, there's congressmen I'm seeing get arrested. There's lawyers that are getting their bar shit revoked. Like, and you see a lot of that now. And basically, that's how I take these Republicans and like Lindsey Graham and all these motherfuckers. They're basically out here now. They want to flip the script and be like, oh, these white people are out of control. You need to make sure they're going to try and flip it and try and maintain control and say, you need us to keep these white people in check because we understand now this is a serious business. And
Right.
I feel like it's a okey doke. Like, I'm not falling for that shit either. Because I actually saw somebody post some shit like, yeah, we should do the 25th Amendment and Pence can be president. I'm cool with that. Like, let's slow down. Pence ain't shit either. Like, because
Well, no, yeah,
he been co-signing this shit for a long time too. So
yeah.
he can keep all that shit.
Well, here's the thing with folks like Lindsey Graham. So Lindsey Graham been carrying the gasoline can to this fucking fire for 4 years now,
Right.
and every
Got the nerve to stand up now like he's indignant about the shit.
that's what I'm saying. Like, so he's sitting here with the gasoline can. Every time the fire dies down, he's right there to sit there and pour some motherfucking lighter fluid on it and get the fire right back up. And then all of a sudden, he's sitting there and found Jesus again. And he's like, the election was not stolen. This has got to stop. No, what's got to stop is all these fucking people lying about the election in the first fucking place.
Right.
It kills me. Everybody has that relative that you know for a fact you don't tell them shit because they gonna do some wild out shit.
Right.
So all you did was tell everybody's relative that wild out some weird shit, and you went, I didn't know they were gonna do that. You always know they gonna do that. And this is what got me, because I'm looking at this shit now, and I'm looking at I guess what they're trying to do is vote on the 25th or change it up to do the
Yeah.
impeachment.
They're initially doing a vote to see if they can invoke the 25th Amendment. And then if that
which isn't
doesn't,
going to pass.
not
That's
going to
not.
pass, and
Yeah.
when that doesn't pass, they're going to do a vote to impeach, which is expected to pass the House and be sent to the Senate. And then McConnell's talking about like he's going to entertain that shit. We'll see, but
But
that seems to be the plan.
I was about to say he's going to entertain it, but is his fucking caucus going to entertain it? Because
Yeah, but
it looks like he's finally lost his caucus. Now that this shit's over, and the Democrats will have the Senate, it looks like folks ain't listening to fucking Mitch anymore.
I'll tell you what it looks like. It looks like these white folks and these Republicans that were sitting there in the House and the Senate who were talking super reckless didn't expect this shit to get real. And then it got real and their lives was in danger. It's like, oh shit, we can't just be out here talking shit. This ain't just for pretend. Because that's
Right.
what happened. Like these motherfuckers is out here talking super reckless on social media and in the media and in the news, talking about they're gonna challenge these delegates and all this other shit. And they didn't expect it to rise to the level of motherfuckers trying to take over the Capitol building and potentially trying to put motherfuckers to death.
Now don't
Because
get it twisted. Folks like Josh Hawley knew that shit was going to happen the way that
yeah,
dude. No, see, he's a certain kind of evil. Him and Ted Cruz are a certain fucking kind of evil because people go, well, they're dumb. They're not dumb. They're very intelligent. They're very
yeah.
fucking intelligent men. They knew exactly what they were doing. Now, here's my trick with them. I believe both of them need to be removed. I believe all of them who sat there and played some part in it need to be removed from office
Well,
because, quite frankly, it is treasonous to
yeah,
do
let's
what
call
they
it what
did.
it was. It
Yeah,
was an attempted coup, right?
yeah.
So, and and there's a bunch of people complicit in this shit. You're not going to tell me that Capitol Police wasn't complicit in it, or that even maybe not DC Police because I don't think they would have been on board with that necessarily, but definitely Capitol Police because there's no way the all the government buildings in DC are some of the most secure buildings in the world, right?
Well, that's what I was about to say. I don't even think DC police have jurisdiction.
They don't. So it's
So
Capitol
yeah,
Police.
yeah,
Capital, CIPTOL for
yeah.
you motherfuckers out here spelling the shit the other way. Like, I mean, like that straight up. Like I was reading some of the shit. I'm like, these niggas. Like, oh,
God damn, read a book.
like just please, yeah, the Capitol.
Oh shit.
But like, so like, yeah, I mean, absolutely. But you can't tell me that Trump. Somebody didn't send a signal. I mean, well, we know that because we saw some of these motherfuckers opening up gates. We saw some of these people out here marching with these folks. So that's the only way this shit could have went down the way it did because you had to have assistance because that's one of the supposedly one of the most secure buildings in the world. So you're not going to tell me a bunch of disorganized motherfuckers are going to be able to charge and just simply overpower motherfuckers. Like, but part of that is, and you sent some shit to me earlier. Part of that shit is white police officers and law enforcement basically not wanting to shoot folks that look like them.
Well, yeah, let's call that what that is too. They had a hard time shooting or potentially shooting their own.
Oh yeah,
And you could tell because even the woman who lost her life, I believe she was
she
in the
caught that.
in the
She caught
military.
him.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So
And did you see her social media? Like I saw somebody post some of her social media shit going in on
oh yeah.
the vice president elect.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
She was
I
very
mean,
reckless.
she got all she wanted. I mean, hey, normally I'm like, bless the dead, but sometimes it's like, fuck it, you got all you asked for
Yeah.
in that particular scenario.
She wanted all the smoke, and she got
Yeah,
all the
she
smoke.
got all the smoke.
She got
Like
all
you,
the
you
smoke.
went in there super aggressive. Like what I'm not about to be out here is mourning you for doing some dumbass shit. Like you was super aggressive, and you knew what you was you knew you was what she was getting into,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I mean, people can say what they want, like, oh, that's mean. She's passed away. Hey, she brought that shit on herself. That's real talk.
Right now, the Capitol police officers that
No,
died,
yeah,
they
yeah.
did not bring
They
that
did
shit.
not. They did
Yeah,
not bring. No. That's facts.
yeah,
Right. I'm
they
hard
did.
on law enforcement, but they didn't deserve what the fuck came their way. They just doing their job on that particular day. So,
Correct. So
um,
it's different. So when people sit there, because I watched some shit on or read some shit on Twitter, and I'm like, oh, y'all just all in her damn mentions, and she was a great person, and this is and
no, she
she
wasn't.
no the shit I read that she actually posted to the vice president elect that you're not a great person.
Right.
Great people don't write that shit.
Right.
That was some very vulgar shit, and I'm a vulgar person. And I was sitting there like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, what the fuck? like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
you don't feel bad about writing that, typing
Nah,
that? No.
because these white folks are super indignant about this shit. Like, and that's my point. Like, it's like people like to pretend like this is some sort of economic issue that people are upset about, COVID and their economic situation. No, it's not. These motherfuckers is let's call this what it is. This is white folks being indignant because they feel entitled to run this country. All right. So they feel like they're entitled to be on top of the fucking ladder, and they don't understand why they're not in control and running all this shit the way they want to run it, right? So
And
this ain't got shit,
how dare you even think about trying to run it?
right?
Yeah.
So that's what this shit is about. They feel like they're losing control over the country. They know they're becoming a minority in this country, so they losing their shit. They are basically going fucking crazy. You want to know why I know they're going crazy? Because after all that shit calms down and chills out, these motherfuckers start getting in their emotions when they can't get on planes and they on no fly lists and they getting arrested. These motherfuckers is out here crying and shit like this has ruined my life. Like no shit, motherfucker. Like
No, no,
what
you
did you think
ruined
was
your
gonna
fucking
happen?
life. You
Right.
ruined your life. This didn't ruin your life. They look what they're doing to us. No, no, no. Again, you did this to you.
Yeah,
You
because this
went
shit.
you went to the federal building,
Right.
the United States Capitol. You went to the United States Capitol and you took some shit, a fire extinguisher, a flagpole, a piece of
No,
barricade, some shit
look.
that you could find, and you smashed the doors in. And you thought, oh,
It's just
well,
gonna be all good.
that's going to be a fine.
But let's look, and we making jokes about this, but that was you can't tell me that wasn't absolutely a coup. Now you had some folks in there who were just there for the party or whatever the fuck they thought it was, but some of those folks were strategic insurgents trying to get some shit accomplished. Because I know you seen that picture of a cat. I think he was in the either Senate chambers or the House chambers, basically with zip ties and shit, right?
Yeah, so what the
So
fuck was he going to do?
like, so you know what that was about. Like,
Yeah.
had they got a hold of some folks, it was about to get some real shit. And people, I don't know if people really read the reports of what the fuck was going on. Like, so here's a couple things. First, obviously the assault on local and federal officers, that's bullshit. And then you have the theft of like national security documents. So they was going in people's chambers and offices, basically pulling files and shit. And
Mm-hmm.
then, so there's also, I think they also had pipe bombs that were left outside of the RNC and DNC headquarters up there in
Yep.
DC.
Yep.
So
There's
yeah,
pictures of him.
and then you got there's some guy who actually they brought federal charges against him. He actually parked a truck full of firearms and makeshift bombs someplace near the Capitol building, I guess for people just to get their shit and get it in. So all that shit's going on top of people chanting shit like hang Mike Pence, and then you got supposedly there's a real threat to murder Nancy Pelosi. Like, so I mean, this ain't like non-serious shit. You know what I'm saying? Like these motherfuckers is out here wilding out, like
No,
for real.
this wasn't a game. You had people sit there and plan this shit out, and then you had people jump aboard for, I guess, social media purposes. Then you had other people who sat there and funded this shit,
Right.
knowing
And
exactly what the fuck they were doing.
and that's the other part to it that they supposedly the feds are digging into is who financed this shit, because these motherfuckers are staying in nice hotels. Side note, I forget who it was. I think it might have been Anderson Cooper on CNN. He threw super shade at these motherfuckers. He said they all going back to their Holiday Inns and they gardening. Like, I mean, hey, look, hey, if a Holiday Inn is all they got, there's been some nice Holiday Inns I've stayed in, but
But
I understand the shade. When Anderson Cooper sends shade, Holiday Inn to him is basically like a Super 8 motel. Like,
yeah,
you might as well be
exactly.
staying in a Red Roof Inn.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's just Motel 6.
He was like, "Are they going back to their Holiday Inn gardens?" And I'm like, "Oh shit!" So he's throwing super shade at their ass. But so, all jokes aside, they're looking into that because like all these people staying in hotels, all these folks, basically have access to resources. So somebody's funding that shit, and you can't tell me there wasn't some level of coordination somewhere. And I got to believe that comes from straight from the top. I mean, Trump's still in charge, so you can't tell me there's not like a stand down order of the Capitol Police. That's why I think if I recall, the chief of the Capitol Police he tendered his resignation because they asked him to tender it, but
Right.
um,
But he was very honest in going, I requested help several times and I did not get an answer. And
yeah,
then when I finally got an answer, it was way too late because then they started pinning it back and forth between DC and the National Guard. Now they're saying that they called DC eventually and said, well, for the areas that you can, that is within your jurisdiction, can you send, this many troops or whatever? DC is sitting there going, those requests never came to us.
Right.
So I don't know where you got that from, but you need to get our name out your mouth. Then they called Maryland, was like, send the goddamn guard. And Maryland's like, I can't send the goddamn guard. The guard is from my state and you have to request it. Well, I'm requesting it. No, it got to come from a certain area and that ain't happened.
The fucked up part is supposedly, this is allegedly, so obviously I wasn't there and I don't have the verification.
Right.
Supposedly Pence called the White House like, hey, y'all, we need the guard here. And basically he was getting
Please hold.
He was getting the ringtone like, it was like, you gonna pick it up? Nah, fuck that motherfucker. He ain't come around with us. He recognizes shit. Fuck him. Like Trump is super petty. And Trump, he doesn't give a fuck. Like he doesn't give a shit about anything but himself. But
he's a psychopath.
Yeah, the worst kind of psychopath.
That's what I'm saying. He has no actual feeling for anybody else. And literally he watched this shit on TV like Mr. Burns from fucking The Simpsons and shit.
And he's still out, but he's still out here being super indignant. Like, so he supposedly, so he kind of backed down a little bit, like, oh, I'm going to recognize the transition. And then he keeps peddling this shit about the election. Like, man, come on, if you don't sit your ass down, like, at this point, like, shut the fuck up. Stop talking to us and just leave, man. Just leave.
But he can't get out of his own way. But
he can't get out of
his own way. That's the fucked up part. He literally can't get out of his own way. You can't tell him he's bad at anything.
But he's about to get all this smoke if they really come after him, because supposedly the DC AG is looking at charging him for inciting violence. And all jokes aside, like for real, I'll give you some legal advice for the people who died during that particular, we'll call it an insurrection. He can be charged, or people can be charged that are connected with everything as far as organizing and inciting it for what they call felony murder. So basically what that means is if somebody gets killed within the context of committing a felony, even if it's like a non-fatal felony, let's say you and I decide we're going to break in somebody's house just to go steal some shit. And then within the context of stealing some shit, even if it's self-defense, we shoot and kill somebody and they die. And let's say I'm the one that does it, you can get charged for felony murder because you were helping commit the actual felony, the underlying felony, and somebody died as a result. So, I mean, they're looking at shit like that, and that's a real charge that they can actually come after him for.
See, and then if that's the case, I'm not suggesting he do this, but if that's the case, somebody need to go ahead and take his passport while we playing.
Well, so that's the other flip side to this impeachment process, right? Because if he gets impeached a second time, he loses all those post-presidency privileges, is my understanding. So like, he doesn't get the Secret Service shit, and like I say, he can't run for president. We talked about this before we got on again. Yeah. There's a bunch of shit he does not get as a result of being impeached for a second time. I can't believe this is the shit we're talking about, like a sitting president getting impeached for a second time.
No, what I can't believe is the motherfuckers who still all in his asshole, and this some bitch is getting impeached for a second time. They look. Let me explain something.
I don't know motherfuckers who are still riding with Trump, because I didn't cancel all them motherfuckers. Like, people out here be like, oh, it's just you can't cancel friends for their political perspectives. I absolutely can. If you ride with Trump, we got some other issues between you and me.
There are people still riding with this motherfucker, and it's funny as fuck. It's sad funny. It's funny as fuck, because at this point, if you are riding with him, you are not only stubborn, you're stupid. Plain and simple. You're stupid, because there's nothing you can defend him for at this point. He sat there and watched people basically risk their lives for a lie, and it didn't faze him not one bit that, oh, this shit could go south real quick, or all these white folks can get hurt real quick, and all my supporters. None of that fazed him. He watched it like it was a fucking movie and was like, look at these folks. Look at my people. Look at my African American over there. He watched that shit knowing this shit was gonna go bad.
I'm glad you said that. So You saw the picture with the one black cat in the chambers, like with the puffy jacket on. Did you see that picture?
Oh yeah, his
He was
balls left real quick too. I was
yeah,
here.
because you saw his ass. Like he definitely like signed up for some shit he wasn't ready for. Like, wait a minute, we about to storm what? Oh, wait a minute, y'all. This don't go well for folks that look like me. Like he looked super shook in that picture. Like I'm standing here in this chambers. I don't know the fuck's about to go down. Like
And
he
just like black folks, he improvised like a motherfucker. Oh, I was here looking for my stimulus check.
like he absolutely was paid, right?
Oh
Like
hell yeah.
somebody absolutely paid his ass. Like he was definitely reconsidering that shit, standing there like I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. Like he got caught up in whatever bullshit he got caught up in.
He got caught up
And
in that check. Whatever they paid him, he was like, "This gonna be a little. This gonna be some quick money." I go up, show they chant, they throw up some signs, and I'm out. That's what he thought.
that shit was like I saw him like I knew exactly what he was thinking. Like this was a bad idea.
Blacks for Trump.
With your dumb ass is like get the fuck out of here. Like
He
and then
said,
so did you so I'm gonna play it here. So did you happen to see that white lady who got maced?
"Oh hell yeah, oh yeah,
So they
that was
already
so
made a
good."
song about it, and we're gonna go ahead and run it on this motherfucker real quick. So they made a song about it. Uh, shit's hilarious. So we're gonna let y'all listen to it. So, and you know, black folks can the internet wins every time.
Every time.
Every time the internet wins. So if this shit don't sound good, I'm probably just gonna go ahead and dub the shit a different way. But I thought the shit was kind of catchy. But we'll see how it goes down.
Shit.
They pushed me out and they maced me. I got maced. 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 I got maced.
Internet wins. Internet wins all the time.
Every time. Every time. Like that shit was catchy too. Somebody mixed this shit up like, oh, we about to get this in.
Oh, that shit might actually win some shit.
And look, it was the ugly cough for me too. She's like, ugh. That shit is hilarious to me. Like now, all jokes aside, have you ever been maced before?
Yeah. Yeah.
So she
Yes.
deserved everything she got. That being said, like if you've ever been maced and you know what that shit is really like,
And that
you
shit
can
is disorienting.
you can probably understand like her disorientation and her like because a lot of people are like, oh, she wasn't really about that life. If you've been maced, when you get some
You
fresh air, you out here like, whoo, shit.
I'm telling you for a fact, it don't matter how much water or whatever you get poured on your face, you are literally trying to get some form of clean air. And your eyes are burning all to be shit, and your sinuses are draining, and it's just the worst fucking
Yeah, it
thing.
is real talk. Like so, yeah, she got all the smoke too. But that being said, like some part of me understands, like, hey, that's like a lifeline when you get out of that shit. Like she was not ready. Like somebody asked her to sign up for this shit. Like, yeah, let's go do this shit, and she caught that mace. She was like, oh, I didn't sign up for this at all.
Well, and the funny part is, to me, the best part of that whole thing was I looked at her and I was like, what the fuck else did you think was going to happen? She literally told him, he said, what happened to you? Well, I was trying to break in and 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 I got maced.
But that's that white entitlement, right? Especially these white women, like that's an entitlement for real. Where they're like, I can't believe they maced me.
Yeah,
And that's why there's a white woman she caught that one piece from that sister in that crowd of folks, like the security guard, or I think she might have
oh,
been
yeah,
DC police.
yeah.
And then or the security then had the nerve to fire the sister for whatever reason. But like this white lady tried to go in, sister caught her with that clean one piece and she was leaking,
Hmm.
got all the smoke,
Yeah,
all of it.
and they said, how dare you? So white privilege was on display
everywhere. I mean, all the shit was
whole thing.
all that shit was peak white privilege. Like it's peak white privilege when they feel super entitled to shit. Like,
Yeah, if you sit there and go, well, it wasn't a black or white thing. Bullshit. It was definitely white privilege. There's no way any black person, any Mexican person, any Muslim would ever walk on the federal building that is housing the Speaker of the House and the Vice President of the United States in the same fucking room or in the same fucking hallway and they live if they started to run toward either door.
right.
That shit's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, but what we're not talking about is this is why we talk about this law enforcement shit a lot, and this is why people are always gonna be like, "Oh, he always bringing in this law enforcement shit and the parallels," but the shit matters, right? Because you have these law enforcement folks, A, either letting it happen or B, participating in the shit. It tells you where their allegiances lie, right? So their allegiances lie with the quote unquote law and order president, somebody who's been historically racist and oppressive, and that's who they identify with. So it's no surprise that when you see some shit like that, when they sign on for basically sedition and a coup attempt, why would we want them in black communities?
Exactly. Because if you are a part of the police union and you're like the president of the police union and pick a police union across this nation,
Mm-hmm.
you basically signed up to follow a guy who left your people ass the fuck out.
Right.
At the end of the day, President Trump left those fucking officers ass the fuck out.
Yeah, but let's have a real conversation though. Like, which officers are we talking about? Maybe the DC police, but you can't tell me that this shit wasn't coordinated at the Capitol Police level. Like, because there's no way that shit happens without some level of coordination. I know there's some Capitol officers that supposedly passed. I don't know who actually died, which kind of officers, but
It
like,
was two Capitol officers that one basically got bludgeoned to death with the fire extinguisher, and the other one is the one that got crushed.
right. So somebody didn't get the memo, right? And they weren't in on it,
Right.
and they caught that heat, right? But by and large, you're not going to tell me that there wasn't some level of coordination because that shit just does not happen. Like it doesn't. It doesn't
Well,
happen.
that would have to come from the Justice Department or
Right.
the Defense Secretary at that point. That office,
right.
you know.
Or some shit just didn't happen, right? So I mean, back channels, whatever, however it works, you're not going to tell me. You can call it a conspiracy theory, whatever you want to call it. You're not going to tell me that there wasn't a very real level of coordination to allow that shit to happen. That's because that shit just doesn't happen.
Put it this way: you don't get as close as they got in a normal situation. You don't ever get that close,
and especially during a situation when you knew there was a threat. Like supposedly the FBI reported that there was going to be a potential threat to all the parties involved, and either they didn't take it serious, but they're literally in session voting on the certification of these delegates. So this is, and on top of that, they had a rally earlier in the day.
So if you're listening to this and you think you have an argument for them not certifying the votes because there's fraud and all this other stuff, again, you're stupid as fuck. What they were doing, there's no legal, and this is me not being a lawyer, but there's no legal cause for them to bring up true objections for what they were doing. They were doing something that is just like
they were basically trying
paperwork.
to steal the election.
Yeah.
So let's call it what it is. Like,
yeah,
those Republic. Go ahead.
No. I'm just saying what they were doing in the actual chamber was basically reading the certified votes from each state. The states had already certified them. It was done. According to that state, this many electoral votes is going this way. According to this other state, all they were doing in that chamber and all the vice president was doing is physically reading the fucking list. It's like a fucking shipping document. I got 20 of these. I got 10 of these. I got 5 of these. That's all he was doing. They weren't doing anything special or trying to do anything. So you stormed your way into a situation that in any normal fucking day, any other presidential election in the history of this great country was just a meaningless, paper day. You stormed your way to try to, because here's my thing. I'm going to tell you what I really think the overall goal was. The overall goal was to steal that box of electoral votes.
Or to scare these motherfuckers into not voting on that shit at all.
Well, that too. But I'm just saying, like, if you can get your hands on the fucking box, they can't sit there and read the goddamn votes.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It was. So I'm not even sure. I don't necessarily believe that they felt like that was their primary objective. I think it was a legitimate coup attempt, and Trump and them was trying to see if they could get that shit off. Like, I'm gonna see, because let's keep it real. Like, all jokes aside, we keep playing around on this, but this is basically how Hitler took control, right? Similar scenario.
Yeah, but Hitler took control with an actual defense, military defense plan. These are some motherfuckers from Butler, Mississippi, Tupelo, Wisconsin, and some dumb shit. You got maybe 6 to 10 minus the ones who are actual military.
I was about to say, like, don't get it twisted. Like,
minus those guys. Yeah, minus those guys. You got a guy with a single shotgun and a couple of handguns and shit in the back of his goddamn truck.
Thinks he's the Punisher and shit.
Right. And they're not going up against, because if it actually went down the way they thought it was going to go down or wanted it to go down, you got these guys going up against the largest and greatest army in the world.
Yeah, but so you could tell the difference between police officers and Secret Service guys, right?
Yep.
And you want to know how you know that? So first of all, the Secret Service guys, for those of you who don't know, were the guys you saw in suits with their guns aimed at the door, ready to
and firing on motherfuckers.
So for those of you who don't know, the Secret Service does not have time to have conversations with you. Okay, they don't detain people.
That's not their job.
They don't detain. They don't arrest. They put you down. Right?
Yeah. They end the threat.
Those aren't the motherfuckers you want heat with, because they ready. They always ready at a drop of a dime. So the last thing you're about to do is approach any building where there's a sufficient Secret Service in the building. It's about to go down. Like that, you may be able to get that shit off of Capitol Police or even DC Police, but you definitely not getting that shit off of Secret Service unless there's some level of coordination. But what I did see is you saw a lot of like black police officers from the DC unit. All of a sudden they were like, "This is some bullshit," and they've been coming out talking about a lot of the shit, which is why you sometimes need diverse representation in those areas. But that's another conversation for another day. I don't know if I necessarily believe that helps too much, but we can talk about that another point. But I do want to kind of talk about the fallout. Like, this shit has been hilarious, by the way. So like, I mean, all these perp walks of all these guys who are, super indignant and shit, like talking about all this, how ridiculous this shit was. There's that one cat that was in Nancy Pelosi's office. He absolutely got arrested and lost his job. Yeah. And then then I saw a recorded video on one of the social media platforms. And basically, it was a guy who had just found out at the airport, probably around the same time, that he couldn't fly home because he was on a no-fly list because he was identified. And he was super in his feelings. Like, he was like, "You're ruining my life. This is an American. This is what they do to us. This is what they do to us. This has ruined my life." Like,
fucking snowflake.
You better go get that rental car, motherfucker. Like, you was super aggressive out here doing this crazy shit. Now they didn't put you on this no-fly list and you can't get on. Like, it's just bananas. Like, it's hilarious. And then you got, what else did I see? And what was killing me was all these motherfuckers telling on themselves on social media. Like what did you think was going to happen? That tells you what level of peak white privilege you're talking about, because these motherfuckers are so confident nothing's going to happen to them. They just get on social media like, "Yeah, we went in there, we stole flags, we stole the podium. Yeah, we did all that shit, man. We went in there and did it all.
I stole a letter off the Speaker of the House desk."
Yeah, like the FBI sitting there like, "All right," whoever the prosecutor is like, "Damn, okay.
They made this shit easy.
Check that element. Check this element. Check that element." Like, come on, y'all super stupid.
And don't get it twisted. This was not a what do I call a trip, a school trip gone awry, or a tourist trip gone awry, these are not misdemeanors. These are
No.
fucking felonies.
Federal felonies,
Yeah.
not
These
not normal felonies.
no,
So
these are federal felonies. So you're if convicted, going to jail for a long period of time,
federal prison.
federal prison. And the irony to it is, if you were sitting there storming the fucking Capitol about your vote being stolen, once you become a convicted
You can't
felon,
vote.
you
can't vote
vote.
anyway. It's your dumb ass.
It's a fucking
It's your
dumbass.
dumb ass. Shit is hilarious. Like the karma's real. Like that's when we tell you black folks are sitting across the country laughing at y'all's dumbasses. Like, look at these dumb
God.
motherfuckers. Like they don't know how to do this shit right.
And I want every last one of you to catch a felony. I want every last one of you
Every
not to.
single one of you motherfuckers. I want you to lose your job. I
Yep.
want you to catch a felony. Every single one of y'all.
And I want you to have to sit there, do your time, and get your fucking bracelet and probation, and have to go and try to apply for a job and tell them motherfuckers you're a convicted felon. And I want you to see what happens to people when you sit there and say, all these some bitches need to just go and get a job.
But I bet you see prison reform pop up real quick.
Oh,
if
hell
that
yeah.
shit happen.
All these fucking white folks that's gonna be convicted felons, yeah, you'll get prison reform. You'll get prison reform real fucking quick.
Well, did you see the airlines, I think the flight attendant unions or somebody, they're basically putting forward some agenda to say that I forget who they're not going to allow to fly on their flights. Like I forget who they characterize, but like I'll have to look it up here as we're on the show. But basically they're basically like, if you're a Trump supporter, you're talking that reckless shit, we don't want y'all on our planes, period. Like we're not going to lie. Matter of fact, I think what it is that if they there's a list generated as a result of all this shit, and you're on that list, you can't get on that plane.
Yeah, that's a goddamn shame that it's come to this. Like this is the country we live in now, where you got all these dumb motherfuckers sitting here ruining it for everybody. Like if you're from another country and you're looking at any type of foreign country, and you're looking at America, you got to either have popcorn or you got to go, then obviously it was never what they said it was. Like what I think is happening is it's a realization that there's a perceived idea of what it is to be an American and the American ideals and the American morals. That's all perceived. That's the shit you tell somebody. That's the shit to keep them motivated to keep going and be that fucking shining light on the fucking hill that Reagan said. But in reality is, as far as long as this country has been in existence, it's had this one giant fucking problem. There's a bunch of racist fucking assholes that are in control, and now they're losing control. And so at that point, they don't know what to do with themselves. And the only way they can sit there and make themselves feel better is to try to make you feel worse and literally throw a damn tantrum. So black folks, stay out of this one. I'm just gonna tell you
This
right
ain't
now,
our fight. This ain't our fight.
This ain't our fight at all. Just stay out of this. Watch them. This white on white crime is
Like,
real.
it's terrible. Like,
I mean, Jesus,
you guys really need to fix this white on white crime. Before
this white on white crime has to stop.
Anything else? Like, geez, stop killing each other. Like,
I mean,
if
really,
you want us to help you, you need to stop killing each other first.
Yeah, help us help you. Help us help.
White on white crime is a bitch.
White on white crime is, I mean, Jesus Christ, I'm scared. I can't walk out the door and see two white people and not think, oh, I probably should lock my door. I don't know what could happen.
So I looked it up. So yeah, the flight attendant union wants pro-Trump rioters barred from flights. So basically, anybody who's documented as a part of those riots, they're gonna be put on a list and they can't be allowed on flights. So now they're super in their feelings across the board, like, oh, that's some bullshit. Like, what did you think was going to happen? Because there's another. Did you see another video? So these white folks on this plane were basically chanting like, "Let's go Trump" or something like that, and then they tried to incorporate USA. And I thought it was a joke at first. I thought somebody had dubbed some shit over, but the airline pilot basically came on like, "Look, I will drop you motherfuckers off in Kansas, like right now.
I will land this fucking plane."
Real talk. He said that we will land here in Kansas and I'll drop you off in the middle of Kansas and we will go back our business unless you guys shut up. Like that's almost verbatim.
Wow.
Ask me if that flight wasn't quiet the whole rest of the way.
Yeah. But see, that's what you got to do. You actually have to have people to check them. For 4 years, nobody has been checked. Nobody's been checked in the administration. None of these fucking people have been checked because their guy has been running rampant. You actually have to be an adult and check them and say, this is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. And yet and still, you have those people sitting there going, well, fucking liberals, they're all snowflakes and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, who's the snowflake, though? Like, these motherfuckers are in the media talking about they going on food. So that one cat with the horns and shit that you see the pictures of.
Yeah, the organic food dude.
He's like, I'm on a food strike because there's no organic food. Like, if you don't see the irony in that simple shit. Now, what's even more interesting is they actually ended up giving him the organic food as part of some sort of civil liberties shit, but which they're probably supposed to do. But I just think that's hilarious that you man enough to go out here and storm the Capitol, but you can't eat anything other than organic.
Right. Right. And you dress like a Viking. This is so is this the part where I go, my paying dollars and paid for that organic food?
That's exactly what happened to your tax dollars.
Okay. See,
that's exactly what happened.
His fucking organic food because he wanted to be a traitor to his fucking country. What I'm scared about, the one thing that actually has me scared is them turning the U.S. flag into the new Confederate flag. Like
right.
that flag will wind up being a double meaning. And
it's always been a double meaning, though.
Well, yeah, because it's always been two Americas.
Like if you black in this country, there's always been a double meaning to just being a citizen in this country, and the American flag. I mean, Malcolm said it best. Like if black folks were actually citizens in this country, there wouldn't be a need for fighting for civil rights, right?
Exactly.
If we were actually citizens, considered citizens, rather.
That's what I was saying. We weren't considered citizens. Still not considered citizens.
So it all begs the question. The inauguration is coming up in how many days? 8 days.
Yeah.
So now everybody's on super high alert and shit. So, because supposedly there's some very real threats to the point where they've got groups of like these militia folks basically claiming that they're going to form a border around the Capitol and not allow Democrats in. And supposedly there's been rules of engagement that have been published somewhere on the line, online. On the line, that sounds like somebody's old ass grandpa. Like on the line, on the internet lines,
on the internets.
So, but supposedly
my AOL's not working. Come here, fix this.
Dial up, right? CompuServe and shit.
Oh, shit.
But supposedly there's been rules of engagement published for these different militia groups, basically on how to engage militarily. So, like, I mean, it's not really a game. So we're gonna see what happens with this inauguration. I know the mayor of DC, she basically they've already started establishing the perimeter for the inauguration, which is super early compared to when they typically do it.
Right.
And it was never going to be the same level as it usually has been, just because of COVID and the president-elect Biden obviously understands that, so they're not going to be out here having super spreader events and shit for the inauguration as well. But there's still going to be people in attendance, so it's just going to be interesting to see what happens. That's why I would say, black folks, stay away from DC. The folks who live in DC, stay home, stay in your crib, stay at home. Let the white folks participate in this inauguration shit. This is for them anyway. Even though we put them in office, fuck it, just let them handle that shit, because who knows what's about to go down. And these is white folks' problems.
Yeah, you don't want to be nowhere near this. This is some shit you watch from afar. Let them have at it. It's because what's gonna happen is somebody's gonna get all jumpy and froggy, and they're gonna want to jump, and then the U.S. military is gonna jump back and put them in their place and show them that they really didn't want the smoke that they have. And so you have less idiots out there. So this is a win-win for us black folks right now. Take this as a win-win.
And and thing I would tell people is just be careful about letting some of these white elites manipulate you a little bit on this because there's always been an effort to try and drive a wedge before the poor in this country, whether that be poor blacks, poor whites, poor Mexicans, poor anything, because they know poor folks unite, or lower middle class folks unite against the folks who have all the resources and all the money, then it's a problem, right? So there is a level of manipulation that's going on from different levels of the quote unquote white elite. So just make sure you're paying attention to that shit. And that includes the media. Because, I mean, shit, you look at CNN right now, they market in this second Trump impeachment vote like it's the fucking final four and shit. They're like,
Oh, they got tickers. They got
I mean, this shit is
analysts.
bananas. Like, and it's coming on before the inauguration. They're like, the second impeachment of the president. We're gonna market the fuck out of this shit, and we're gonna sell premium ad space for all this shit. Like, and I get like you need to make sure you have the information available to folk, but this does feel very reality TV ish, ironically.
I was about to say,
So,
and that's what he's quote unquote good at. He's good at branding, and so he looked at this as a branding opportunity. The problem is, I don't think he's gonna. It's
yeah,
not
I don't
gonna
know how this
age
shit's
well.
gonna end.
That's what I said. This is not gonna age well. And quite frankly, I see him doing what Michael Jackson did when Michael Jackson beat that second damn charge and took his ass to Bahrain.
Like, nope, that's it.
I'm out.
Hey, no one to fold them.
Yep. I see him doing some shit like that. I see
I don't
him.
know. I feel like he can't do nothing but crash and burn. I feel like this shit ain't gonna be over till he just burns. Like he can't help himself. Like
True. He
it
can't
won't
help.
he won't stop until he's just totally disgraced.
Yeah.
Like I'm not sure, he may not make it to the inauguration. He may have to resign before then. I don't know what's gonna happen with this impeachment shit, but um he's already definitely not attending the inauguration. I mean, who gives a fuck, right? But
Well, here's the thing. There's the part of the inauguration where
oh yeah, he
the
flies
outgoing
away and shit on
and
the
Air
Marine
Force
One.
Marine One. Yeah, I actually want to see that motherfucker leave. Like, I
I
want
don't.
proof. No, I
No,
want proof that he's
I don't
going
get.
away.
I don't give a fuck. I don't need to see his ass because I know he won't be there. Like I know he's gonna be kicked out the house. Fuck him. I don't give a shit. You don't need to show up. Go down to Mar-a-Lago and golf. Do whatever fuck it is you're gonna do.
Yo, give
Like
me a key card, sir. Give me your key
right,
card.
we didn't change everything already, so
The locks
uh
don't work.
you can't. I just think this is the and I'm assuming there's safeguards in place, and this is why I think that the president's the presidential office isn't necessarily as all powerful as people make it seem. I know you learn certain secrets, but I feel like they have to keep some secrets away from even the president. I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do, but they almost have to, especially if you get a crazy motherfucker like this who had access to the White House and then leaves the White House. Like,
I
which
am a firm believer that in the past 4 years, that motherfucker never had the actual codes to the nuclear football.
I'm
I
sure it
believe,
did.
I
I think
believe,
he, I
I
mean,
believe they gave him the code, and then 10 minutes later changed that.
it's like, nah, no, he can't have this shit.
They
Like,
changed
oh,
that
you
bitch.
don't want to give up your personal cell phone? All right, motherfucker. Like,
Okay, here we go. It's 222
right.
553
They're like, okay, President, the code's 1, 2,
3
3,
4.
4.
And he was
Seriously,
sitting there like,
he was like, wow,
1,
that's easy.
2, 3, 4. I knew it.
He's like, that's really easy, huh?
And then got on the call with somebody like Russia or somebody. It was
Like
like,
Putin, like, hey, they said it's 4, 3, 2. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 1, 4.
Putin
Your
sitting there like,
dyslexic
wait,
ass.
wait. Putin sitting there going, you really believe that? You believe? Oh fuck! I've made a horrible mistake.
Right. Yeah, and I wouldn't like so. Yeah, this Trump shit. The one thing that is possible and is so ridiculous, it's not out of the realm of possibility for Trump to move his ass to Russia. But then it's like if he moves his ass to Russia, I mean, they almost the federal government can't let him live. Like,
Oh yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, yeah. He put it this way. He couldn't move to Russia.
that's treasonous, right? I mean, it's got to be treasonous, right?
Yeah, because they're still officially an enemy. They're not an
Right,
ally.
right.
They are an enemy on the books. An enemy.
This shit's about to get crazy, and that's why I said, black folks, let these white folks sort that shit out. Like, we got enough battles to fight on our own, just daily being black in America without trying to worry about these white people problems. Like, yeah, does this shit impact us to a certain extent? Yeah, kind of, but not to the level just the day-to-day shit does. So like, let them sort this shit out. This isn't a window you need to jump out of. Like, so these black folks be going hard in the paint for all this shit. Leave this shit alone.
Yeah, if you want to actually focus on something, black folks, go ahead and focus on all these fucking appointments. So go ahead and focus on the fact that now the Democrats would have the White House, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. So focus on making
Yeah,
sure your agenda is
right.
being pushed to your senator, your congressman, so that you can actually get what the fuck you wanted.
I'm
Because
glad you
now the
said it.
yeah, because now the deck is stacked in your favor. There's no excuses.
There's no excuse.
You can't blame the other side. So I need you to have that same fucking energy you had putting the motherfucker in. I need you to keep that energy and make sure you get the shit you want.
But
That's what you focus on.
the shit that's crazy is like, let's keep it all the way real. If within 30 days there ain't a reparations amendment or reparations legislation, at least the what is it, the
John
committee
Lewis.
formed,
Oh,
like if the committee's not even formed within the first 30 days, y'all should basically be saying fuck the Democrats in the next election, because there's no excuse at this point. You got a Democratic president, you got a democratically control, well, you've got an equally split Senate, but you've got the vice president who sways that particular control. So, democratically controlled Senate, democratically controlled House of Representatives. There is no reason why they cannot put forward legislation that specifically addresses the issues that matter to black folks.
and
Like
you
if
know,
they tell you otherwise, they're lying to your ass.
right? You know me. My number one goal, first and foremost, the Emmett Till Lynching Act. Make it illegal to lynch black people in this country. We can go from there. First and foremost, Emmett Till Lynching Act. Go ahead and put the John Lewis Act on there too, and then reparations is number three. I, Plain and simple. There's no excuse at this point.
Uh,
Don't
I'll tell
let
you right
them
now,
lie to you.
reparations number one on my shit.
I
Like
know, I know. I'm just saying, like for
you
me,
got to pay me.
yeah. But see, they could still hang you and pay you. I'm
Yeah,
saying make it domestic terrorism to
yeah, but
hang.
realistically, they have hate crime legislation. So, like, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Like, but they do have hate crime legislation.
but
So
then
I
you have
mean,
to then you have to prove it as a hate crime.
yeah,
That's what I'm
if
saying.
somebody hangs somebody black in the South, the only reason why it wouldn't get proved that way is simply because you got a prosecutor and or a group of jury folks who don't give a fuck. But
Right.
that's no different. That would be no different even within the context of a lynching bill, right?
Well,
The arguments
that's
is
what I'm
one.
saying. The lynching bill to me is the act itself. Is the act itself. If you make that the act itself
So
illegal,
you're talking about like a strict liability legislation. Basically, if it happens, then you're guilty.
yeah. That's what I want.
Well, I think the other thing you're gonna see with a lot of this shit is holding some of these moderate Democrats to task, because some of these motherfuckers already done came out, and it's the type of shit that will really piss you off. Like I think it was Manchin. I don't know what state is he from? He's a Democrat.
West
Joe
is
Manchin, West
fucking
Virginia.
West Virginia. 'Cause
Yeah,
he technically is. He's technically not a Democrat. He
he caucuses with Democrats,
he
right?
caucuses with Democrats. He ran as a Democrat because he got primaried as a Republican and
Right.
lost. So
Yeah.
he's
So
one of
basically,
those motherfuckers.
and the reason why I bring his name up is, and I posted this on social media, he's basically come out and said, "No, I'm against this $2,000 for folks. We need to focus on this vaccine first before we give people $2,000." What type of, that don't even make fucking sense.
At
Like,
all.
as if you can't do both simultaneously,
You can
or
walk and
even
chew
one before
gum.
the other, right?
Yeah.
Like, and think about the nerve. And this is, so typically you could understand the anger that people would have with legislators when you hear shit like this, where it's like, you motherfuckers have the nerve to tell people they don't deserve $2,000 just one time. They probably deserved it monthly since March. But
Right.
the reality is, you're gonna sit here and say that you can't pass $2,000 to these folks, but meanwhile you getting all these benefits as a congressman, and on top of that, you'll pass all this other legislation for billions and trillions of dollars that don't affect people directly. But you want to sit here and tell people you can't give them $2,000 a month. That's why people be trying to blow shit up.
Yeah.
Real talk.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't even have a dog in the fight. Like, I'm not even getting the two stacks. Like, so if I was, I'd be super pissed off. I mean, I'm pissed off just hearing that shit now. But like, the fact that any moderate Democrat would attempt to stand in the way of that legislation to give folks that money, they should be able. They should be ready to challenge him in the primary next time he comes up for reelection.
Right.
Real talk.
Right. Basically, hold them to their bluff.
Well, and
If they're sitting there saying, "Oh yeah, everybody needs to get 2,000," hold them to that 2,000. Now, truthfully, I believe they're gonna really push to do the 2,000. What I'm wanting to see, or waiting to see, is if the Democrats are gonna actually have balls and treat Republicans the same way that Republicans treated them
probably
when they
not.
had power. It might not happen, but I'm hoping it's a new day. I'm hoping there's enough progressives to kind of like, I don't want to say
Yeah.
force the old
Well,
in.
yeah, AOC and them, they trying it. Like they like, all right, fuck, we about to go after this shit. So,
Right.
and some would say they're creating some dissension within the Democratic Party, but fuck it, maybe that's what needs to happen.
That's
Um,
exactly what needs to happen.
but and let's keep it real. Like a lot of these moderate Democrats and the Senate moderate Democrats, especially in the Senate, they're using this shit as leverage to get their own agendas done because they know that now they hold a lot of power.
Mhm.
Right. So I mean, in a Senate where it's a 50-50 split, and the vice president is the tie-breaking
Tiebreaker.
vote, if
Yep.
you're one of the whatever number of moderate Democrats in the Senate, you can basically hold everything hostage based with your vote
Yeah.
to get what you need to get done. So it's basically politics. These motherfuckers playing with people's lives and money, like they gonna learn, right? That eventually everybody's gonna lose their shit, and then it's gonna be a problem for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Like just the balls it takes to even publicly come out and say, "Nah, I ain't supporting that $2,000 to y'all. Y'all need to get this vaccination first, motherfucker." What?
yeah. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're fiscally responsible again. You fucking ran you
Right,
fucking ran the deficit, the debt up, and then the deficit is now ridiculous in itself because number one, you take out more than what the fuck you put in. The GDP for the year doesn't match what you asking as a budget, so the deficit is through the fucking roof, and now you fucking fiscally responsible because you out of power. That shit's not gonna happen.
right.
That shit's not gonna happen. Look, $2,000 coming your way, and then I'm gonna talk about shit that a lot of people ain't even talking about, especially the fucking media. There's some people who aren't getting this fucking $600 one until they file their taxes.
Right.
So if you were expecting, like how the media kept saying, "Oh yeah, the 2 days after Christmas, they're going to push out that $600, get some money in for these hard working folks that are out of work and blah blah blah," your name might be on a list at the IRS where they quote unquote need more information. And they basically tell you, yeah, you won't get your second stimulus until you file taxes. And then you will file something called a recovery rebate or some shit. So if you thought you was getting some money, meanwhile your cousins, friends, neighbors, and people at your job, like you get your 600, I got my 600, and you sitting there like I ain't got nothing. You probably on that fucking list. And ain't nobody told you, but you gonna have to file your taxes first.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up. That's
Re-
fucked up.
Real quick, quiet as kept on the TV. I got running this ticker for this impeachment vote. They're pretty smart about this shit. They didn't start doing this shit till after 6 o'clock. So in DC they got a 6 o'clock curfew. So it's pretty smart. Like it's like we ain't about to have this shit happen again. Like you motherfuckers ain't even supposed to be out. So
Right.
like
Get in the house.
you even on the street, we about to arrest your ass. So like that
Yeah.
makes the shit real easy.
I was about to say, and that's some shit the actual DC police can actually enforce. Because
Very
that's their
quickly. And
that's their jurisdiction there.
it don't take and it doesn't take any sort of determination or judgment call. If you out, you in violation. So
Yeah.
just keep your ass in the house. I mean, it's smart to do that shit now because it's 10 o'clock and the vote's coming up in a couple hours. So they basically is like, fuck it, we ain't about to play with y'all.
Yeah. This this shit itself is, I mean, it's just funny to watch. I mean, for me, and not for a lot of people, but for me, politics, public policy, all this shit has always been intriguing. Civics has always been intriguing to me. So like I I'm looking at this in a complete different light. I'm also looking at it as for what it is. I mean, truthfully, what's going to happen in about 8 days is basically your Congress is going to not necessarily have gridlock. And what I mean by gridlock is for the past 12 years, fuck the four. For the past
Oh
12
yeah,
years, there's been actual gridlock. The one side was holding up the other side, playing politics, and a lot of shit didn't get done. We went
probably
to like
10,
we
probably 10 years of
10
those
years
first
because the
two
first
first 2 years.
true, right.
But that was still kind of murky too, because even within the context of those 2 years, they didn't have like a super majority in the Senate. Like they
No,
couldn't necessarily get shit done. So
right.
without some, yeah,
So with those 10 years, I'm just saying like for the first time in 10 years, you will actually see shit move. And that's what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be everybody get a little bit of something, shit's moving because we done went through 2 or 3 Congresses where they were just horrible. Nothing moved.
well, yeah, those last 6 years of Obama's both of his terms combined,
Yep.
um, they basically was like, we're just not going to allow you to do shit. They doubled down and they saw some benefit to themselves as far as solidifying the Republican Party. And basically was like, we're not going to allow you to get shit done.
Right. And
So
see now.
they didn't name that motherfucker with the zip ties. They're running
Oh
through
shit.
Eric Munchell, Joe bitch ass Eric Munchell, and there's another dude, Larry Brock. The dude in Pelosi's office is Richard. Somebody need to, Greg. You need to go work for these motherfuckers because CNN has as a screen in screen that's covering the names of these folks that they're running on the back screen, like so you can't read the entire last name.
Oh, they didn't do the key right. That's what that is. That's the intern. He was like, you gonna get on the board? You gonna be TD
I don't know
tonight?
what the fuck it is. I just know this shit doesn't seem smart. Like you could literally put the happening now in screen picture in the top right hand corner of the screen and be fine. But
Yeah.
nobody figured that shit out quick enough. But they didn't named all these motherfuckers. So like the motherfucker that was in Pelosi's office named, the zip tie guy named, some other folks named, and they put their ass on blast.
If you're related to these people and you are embarrassed, there's a
You should be.
hotline you can call. There's a hotline you can call. It's like 1-800-snowflake or something. And I'm sorry, but
one 800 with your bitch ass. That's what it is. Oh, and so that white lady that caught that one piece from the black female security guard,
yeah,
like what was even more hilarious about that shit was that white lady's daughter came out like, "Oh no, this is my mom and she's on that bullshit. This is her name. This is where she works."
right.
Because the mom had kicked this girl out because she had went and protested with Black Lives Matter, and the mom
Mhm.
kicked her out, and she was like, "Oh, so you was talking about me doing this shit and being reckless and disruptive. Meanwhile, you on
You out
camera doing
here?
this crazy shit." Like she pulled her card for real. Like white kids do not give a fuck.
No,
White fix like can you Matt, let's keep it real. Like you could a black parent could do whatever they want to a black kid. I guarantee you this. Black kid ain't never out in their parent, no matter what.
not if they want to live.
I
Quite.
wouldn't I'm never out my folks for nothing.
Yeah. I would.
But the little white girl was like, I don't know her no more. She kicked me out. Fuck all that shit.
But this
Fuck
is
you,
my
mom.
mom. He go,
Fuck
but
you,
this is my
mom.
mom, and this is her name, and she works over here.
Right.
This
Fuck
is
you,
her
mom.
shift.
Like y'all so disrespectful.
But they're bred that way.
Like
They're bred with that entitlement, and that entitlement leads to the disrespect because they,
yeah, that's how you end up with this Capitol riot and
yeah,
shit, right?
yeah, that's what that is. They're bred that way. They literally, I mean, Eddie Murphy said it best when he was like, "Little Tommy killed ass, fucking shit, mom, shit, fucking shit. I'm moving as fast as I fucking can."
Yeah, it'd be hilarious. Like it's a different world. Like it's definitely a different world, but shit, man, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with this shit moving forward. Like, and so to black folks and a lot of other folks as well, just stay inside, stay safe. I'm about to make sure all my clips are loaded up, um, just in case, because they talking about there's a threat at all the capitals throughout the country. So you just don't know how these motherfuckers is gonna respond. And as I said before, if you come into this particular house, I'm putting you down. No questions asked. You've been warned.
All I
That's it.
know is there's gonna be one story being told.
It's gonna be from my perspective.
It's gonna be from my perspective.
That's real talk. Like I'm not saying I'm a marksman, but what I'm telling you is I'm gonna empty the clip.
I'm just
It's,
telling you
it's
right
not
now.
gonna be for lack of trying. As a matter of fact, I'm about to take notes from my co-host here. I'm about to go order my own shotgun here shortly.
Yeah,
go
now we
get
talking.
go get that. Go. Hey, that's the one that puts them down for real. Like, okay,
Yeah, because I did, like I said, I didn't got that new one, that one I showed you, and that bad boy, I finally took that one to the range. That's my new best friend.
yeah, you got to. I mean, you got to be ready, black folks. I mean, just folks in general, like, because these motherfuckers is wilding out. They really feel threatened and they feel entitled to run in this country, and they're gonna respond in whatever way they feel like they want to. And this shit ain't gonna end just because Joe Biden takes office. Like, if you out here thinking that simply because Joe Biden's about to be president, somehow these motherfuckers are gonna disappear, hell no. Especially if Trump gets impeached, they're gonna feel super disenfranchised, unjustly, but they're still gonna feel that way. So it's gonna be a wild ride. That's why I think the FBI and the feds are probably trying to go super hard against these folks and charge them up 100% because they need to be made an example of. Otherwise, this shit just gonna happen again.
Well, it's weird. It's always projection with them because they're the kings of sitting there complaining it's always somebody else's fault. They're the kings of that. And they project it on the other people. Oh, black people always blaming other people and always blaming racism and always blame. You are the like kings of blaming other people. You were born white in America. You basically were given by the color of your skin, you were given the
Right.
best chance to be the most successful anything you wanted to be. You tricked that off.
As Paul Mooney would say, that's such a waste of white skin.
It's such a waste. You tricked that off. You wanted to be an
Such a
inbred
waste.
hillbilly. That let's call it
Yeah,
what it
if,
was.
if you, yeah, if you white in America and it didn't work out for you, that's your fault. Like that's
That
real
is
talk.
clearly your fault. You cannot blame the Muslim doctor for stealing your goddamn job. You wasn't gonna be a doctor.
Yeah,
Your ass barely fucking graduated high school.
there's way too many built-in advantages. Either you intentionally sabotaged your shit, or you're just super stupid. Like, and even that's not even a necessary. That's not even a good enough deterrent because you could be super stupid and still just stumble into probably a six-figure gig or just a standard of living.
You can fail your way up. White people are the only people in this country that could fail their way up. I mean, literally
Yeah,
suck at their job and get a promotion.
yeah. I want somebody to point out a mediocre black person that's supposedly successful.
Yeah, please show
I,
me
I
and
would
I'll show
love
you.
to see that shit. Like, show me that person.
Yeah,
That
you show me that, I show you a unicorn.
I don't believe it. Like, I don't believe it at all. Like when I start seeing mediocre black folks achieving uh, certain levels of success, that's when I'll start talking to you about okay, we've reached some level of equality. But until then, stop talking to
Yeah, yeah, that's some bullshit. Like I've literally seen people not know what the fuck they were doing, and they were like, "Wait, you're the fucking like supervisor, or you're the fucking you're the wow. So how'd you get this job? My uncle. You know,
me. Right.
I really want to do this. I wanted to be a basketball player. What say what?
And that's not to say that black folks can't benefit from nepotism. That's not what we're talking about. But the reality is, by and large, if you're white in America and you just do the bare minimum, you're gonna probably achieve significant levels of success. That's why you see such a significant gap between white and black wealth collectively, right?
Yep, yep.
I mean, then there's the other added layer of I don't know, building up coffers for hundreds of years after slavery to the point where you're able to establish legacies of money and pass stuff down, like I don't know, property and real property and money through trust and all that type of stuff. And white kids who can leave college with a home already without having to worry about putting a down payment down. and they can establish, they've got assets and they've got something they can actually pull value out of, and they've got credit built up and things of that nature. It's just there's a significant advantage. Like people,
especially when you're controlling the narrative of what something or someone is worth.
right,
There's no more slavery, but you figured out how to control the narrative on what it's worth for somebody to make the bare minimum an hour. And
right,
then you got those people to sit there and buy into that very low wage and sit here and be negative toward anybody who thought about raising that wage. That
right.
has got to be the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Poor people talk about how you shouldn't raise the wage because they'll make more than me. Like, your argument is so fucking flawed on so many
Right.
levels, but they control the narrative and they got you thinking that way. They got you, people who literally make more an hour than you'll ever see in your life, have you believing that if you make $15 an hour, the fucking economy will collapse in this
We
country.
won't be able to employ people. Like, really?
In this country, they have you believe in that dumb shit. So clearly you don't know how to do math, and that's why you have the job you have.
Because $15 an hour ain't even a lot. Like, way people be talking about it. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not.
there's a lot of stuff that just ain't what it used to be. I'm not trying to make it seem like anybody got it hard, but even if you're making six figures out here, like it's nice, but it's not what it used to be. Like, there's a lot of motherfuckers making six figures out here.
Yeah, because I'm gonna be honest with you. You got to be making goddamn six figures to sit here and live like your parents and your grandparents did.
Right. Right.
Because while you sit there like, my mom, she worked hard, she made something of herself. We got a house and a car and everything. Don't get it fucking twisted. A house was like $20,000.
Right.
Don't get it fucking twisted. That $20,000 and $250,000 is two different fucking things.
Right. Because those are basically middle class houses now. 250, 260, $300,000 homes. Like,
Yeah, and you might not get a basement.
right.
You might
Right.
not get a fucking basement. So
Right.
don't get it twisted.
That's just crazy. Like, that's bananas. Like when you think about it, like you think about the numbers of what people are out here paying for homes, depending on where they live, obviously, and obviously that changes depending on like where you live. Some
Location and
communities
yeah.
are, but for the most part, you're right. Like you spend anywhere from 150 to $300,000 for probably like a decent middle class home, right?
Yep.
And if you want to start getting to something like much nicer, like or kind of moving up in the upper middle class and upper class, you spending at least in the Midwest you're probably gonna spend $500,000 to $600,000 for a nicer home.
Yeah.
And then if you want like a nice crib, like people are like, oh, this is a nice motherfucking crib, you probably spend $1 million, and
Yeah.
that's in the Midwest. Now, obviously, if you're in LA or New York, it's a totally different ball game. Like $1 million
Right.
gets you a closet to sleep in.
Exactly.
But out here in the Midwest, that's kind of how it functions. So like, shit is different.
Shit is way different. And yet and still, somebody sat there and realized it and was like, okay, this cost of living ain't catching up with inflation. This needs to change. Maybe we need to actually raise some shit. And you sitting there like a little slave. No, no, no. Don't be raising the minimum wage. Then these white folks won't give us these good jobs at $20 an hour. If you don't shut the fuck up and sit your ass down some
Right.
damn well.
Because it's actually not logical to think that way, right? Because if the population by and large, if the average wage of your average American goes up and the floor is $15 an hour, that means more people have more money to spend, which in turn drives up demand, which means that people who own businesses have to hire more people because they're making more money. Like, and what that really goes to is understanding why trickle down economics doesn't fucking work, and it
At
doesn't make
all.
sense, right? Because like economics don't work that way. Like anybody who's read economics books, and we're going a little bit off tangent, we'll stop here in a little bit, but the reality is like, when has it ever made sense that people like businesses, if you just give them money, they're just going to arbitrarily hire people? No, that's not how this shit works. If you're a business owner, you're going to hire people when you have a higher demand and you need to meet it. You don't just hire people out of the goodness of your heart.
That's not
Otherwise, you wouldn't be running a business.
I was gonna say that's not good business.
Like, it's not good business unless you weren't running like a nonprofit or some shit like that. Like, it's different. But economics works when demand is high. Demand is high, so you have to increase your supply, or you have to increase your workforce to meet your demand. Right? How
Yep.
How does the demand go up? Well, people have to have more money to be able to pay for goods and services. How do people have more money to pay for goods and services? They need to make more money on their jobs or have more jobs. Like, so it's not even a chick or egg scenario. You absolutely need to make sure people have money so they can spend it.
Yeah. I mean, it's basic, but yet and still, it's so hard for people to grasp the goddamn concept.
It ain't hard. People just get they buy these fucking narratives from, and I'm always that's why I'm always surprised that like these poor conservatives who, and we're definitely off topic now, but these poor these poor conservatives who feed into this. Yeah, Reagan was right. Trickle down economics. No, Reagan, they played y'all. Like,
Yeah, because your ass is still fucking poor. You're a poor conservative, and you're a poor white conservative on top of everything.
well, because they all see themselves as potentially a decision away from running their own business. Which I guess if I was white in America, I would think that way too, because my white skin would guarantee me some level of success. So,
Well, yeah, because you could actually walk into the bank and get a goddamn loan
right,
for
a
your
business
business.
loan, like,
Yeah.
hey guys, I want to sell rent spoons,
Rum
and
spoons.
I want to sell rent spoons. I need a business loan. Well, do you have a business plan? Nope.
Nope.
I just think it's a good idea.
My
Here's
plan is to sell random spoons and people buy them.
here's a $2 million line of credit, sir.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate that. That's how shit works.
Yeah.
So,
Meanwhile,
but real,
black person walk in like, here's my business plan.
right?
Here's my first 10 years. Here's my
They're like
projections.
they're like, here's $25,000 line of credit.
I
Figure
can
that shit out.
I can only give you 5,000, and in 6 months we can probably revisit this a little bit. Maybe
Right.
get you an extra 2.
Right.
Is that okay?
Right.
So
So right. That's just uh, so yeah. Again, so that could take and closing this shit out. It kind of takes us back to a point. Like, white people get some real fucking problems. Okay, try being black in America instead of crying about all this bullshit y'all got going on and storming the fucking Capitol and committing treason and trying to overthrow a government and shit. Like, watching that shit was like watching the third world country. That's
yeah,
what that shit was like.
it really was.
Other countries was absolutely looking at us like, look at these motherfuckers. Like, you see this shit?
I, I thought I was watching our news.
Right. Yeah, like, you see this shit?
That
you
is
see these
America.
people? What is that? Is that Eastern Europe?
Wait, what I have to say it. What kind of pissed me off about the whole thing, though, it did show all the foreign folks exactly how easy it is to just walk up on the goddamn state.
Oh yeah, like, can you imagine how many fucking terrorists was like, oh, wait a minute, how does this work? Okay,
You
is
go,
that it? We got all these other plans and shit.
you talk to a fella named Martinez. He says go to the back door.
But hey, and they can try that shit if they want, but the reality is that shit ain't gonna work for them because they probably brown skin, and they not gonna make it that far. Just like black folks wouldn't make it that far, like to do what these white folks did. So
You wouldn't make it blocks, and you wouldn't make blocks away from the Capitol.
that's why the biggest threat to this country is domestic white terrorists. Let's call it what it is. Like,
Yeah, because they can literally walk down the street in plain sight and no one does anything to
and
them.
that's been the case since the Oklahoma City bombings, probably before then. But and that's why you hear people talk about white supremacy, and white supremacist groups are the biggest threat to this country's survival because they're an internal threat that they're not putting any checks on.
Yeah, and truthfully, if we want to just go ahead and call it what it is, while y'all trying to get your public policy from Joe Biden together, uh, let go ahead and pressure him to go ahead and get rid of white supremacist groups.
Right.
Put that on your list.
But be careful. But be careful with Biden, like, because he's the same motherfucker that constructed the Patriot Act. So be careful about letting government use this as a way to repeal the rights of everyday average citizens for what these motherfuckers are doing, because they will try that shit.
Oh yeah, don't get it twisted.
Don't let that shit go.
Yeah, definitely.
But shit, hey, So who knows? Well, what'll happen next week? We'll get back on this shit. There's a lot of time for this motherfucker in the White House is still there to implode. They definitely trying to get his ass out of there. We'll see what happens. Black folks stay out of this shit. These is white problems. Fuck it. Shit. Go ahead and let them know. And so we'll jump into the what the fuck. I don't even have a what the fuck news segment. All this shit has been
yeah,
what the
all
fuck,
this shit is what the fuck.
like we don't have shit for y'all. Like this is all what the fuck. But shit, go ahead.
I got maced.
I got maced. I got maced.
As
Matter of fact,
always.
we're gonna hold on just for good measure for y'all.
We gonna play that shit.
I got these. They pushed me out and they maced me. I got these. 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 We're storming the Capitol. It's a revolution. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I got these.
She said it's a revolution.
Oh shit! Y'all should be lucky we don't make that our entrance music coming in and out of this motherfucker. We might at some point.
I was about to say we might do that shit.
just for January and February.
Oh shit!
Oh shit!
Oh
So,
god!
hey, you gotta laugh about this shit, y'all. Like these white folks are hilarious.
Oh god! She sat there and she was so fucking confused. Like, how the fuck could this happen to me?
But it was the ugly cough, man. The ugly cough tells you how bad it was. Like, ugh. It's the ugly cough. Ugh. I can't even do it. I can't because it's so authentic. It was so real. Like
it was real. It was in the moment. It was
like it was full of everything. You know, it was a cough full of like she had the mace in her throat, snotty nose, and like all that shit. That's how that shit sounded like.
Oh my god.
That
Oh my gosh. Like,
that was super white disbelief. Like it's a revolution. I got maced.
what were you doing? We were storming the Capitol.
What the fuck, man? Like, all right, well, shit. You said you don't have a
No.
joint,
Oh god, my heart.
Look, y'all, we've had some fun with this shit a little bit, but for real, stay safe. Stay out the way. Make sure everything is taken care of at the crib. If you need to load them clips up, load them up. Be ready.
Yeah, COVID is still happening, y'all. So
we haven't talked about this particular episode, but we still in peak COVID season, and who knows if these vaccines are working? And it takes some time, y'all. So, if you're taking a vaccine, it is what it is. But stay safe. As always, we appreciate you guys checking in with us on this episode of the All Out of Fucks podcast. Check us out on all our social media platforms. You can check out the show notes for all those platforms. You can check us out on every streaming platform that's out there. We're there, available, ready for you to download. Matter of fact, if you go on Audible, it's pretty easy. They'll let you download every single episode pretty quickly, so it makes it pretty easy. I use Audible a lot just for my reading since I have a 2-year-old and a 4-month-old. Just it's impossible to have any time to actually read, so I do a lot of Audible books. But Audible, you can check us out. Just search us. You can listen to us on your ALEXA. I'm not gonna say it because I got one downstairs here. But yeah, you can check us out on every platform. I just know that makes it pretty easy. I know a lot of folks listen to us on Apple Podcasts, and a lot of folks listen to us on Spotify. So wherever, and then we're on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, basically on everything. So shit, Greg, go ahead and let them know.
Yes, sir. As always, subscribe. We on Apple, we on Spotify, we on Soundcloud, we on Libsyn, we on Stitcher, we on Instagram, we on Twitter, we on Facebook, we on Audible, we everywhere, and we all out of fucks.
That's what's up. We'll holla at y'all. Peace.
Yep.